Well, I said in our last video that I would post a relatively short message about my floor polish hull treatment. Now, my hull, like many, is not painted, but it's gel coat, blue gel coat in my case. I don't think I'd ever choose that again. The problem with gel coat is that unless you polish it very regularly, it degrades. Microscopic pores appear in the surface, and these pores trap dirt and contaminants, and you get this terrible hazing. Mine is particularly bad. Polish fills those voids, but it must be done regularly to avoid this. The result is that once it oxidizes like this, there's very little that you can do about it. You can't keep cutting it back, as the gel coat layer can be quite thin. Of course, white gel coat boats have precisely the same problem. It's just that you don't see it so clearly as coloured gel coats. You can see here just how bad mine has got. So I read an article in Practical Boat Owner and I thought I'd give it a go. It starts with a wet and dry sanding. I used 1200 grit. It's a bit of a backbreaker when the boat is still in the water, but once into the rhythm it was okay. It does feel wrong going at your hull with sandpaper, but hold your nerve, get stuck in, use plenty of water. I then went to work with a coarse cutting compound. I just can't imagine what could go wrong using awkward, heavy electrical equipment just inches above the waterline. I did hold on tight. Using the dinghy was awkward. I eventually pulled the boat away from the pontoon with lines, and I tied the dinghy to the pontoon, and I found that this platform was fine. The main thing is to stop your dinghy being able to move freely in the fore and aft directions. This part really gets your shoulders, and I would go home needing to soak in a hot bath. It took me about one full day to complete each side of the hull. A short stop for lunch to give the shoulders a rest, and off we go again with medium or fine cutting compound. That was followed by a good degreasing wash with a quality cleaning agent. This is quite important. This preparation is the key. Any blemishes will be pretty much locked in by the polymer of the floor cleaner. I did not manage to remove every scratch, but I certainly did remove all oxidation. The polish that seems to be recommended by most boaters who do this is ZEP. I think this cost me about £30 and I used roughly 20% of it. It's a very viscous, milky substance, and I found myself unconvinced that this was going to work. I was to be very surprised. It dries hard, as I was to realise. I got it all over my fingernails and it took days to scrape it off. For most of that week it was as if I'd been wearing shiny nail polish. You apply with a cloth or a sponge. The key is not to get the cloth or sponge too wet. You apply in very thin layers, and you do not want runs. You can go back over it a few times, but once it starts to dry after 3 or 4 minutes, then it's best to leave it be. It looks a bit streaky here, but believe me, it dries flat, it dries smooth, and it dries shiny. Depending on the conditions, it takes around about 30 minutes to dry. Once fully dry, repeat until you have 4 coats. It does dry very tough. It's highly resistant to scratching and wear by fenders. All that's needed to clean the boat after a sail is a quick freshwater hose down, and salt and dirt just slides off the boat. I'm 2 months in now and it still shines as good as new. Apparently all that's needed is a wash and a single coat to be applied each year. Well, I'll report back to you and I'll let you know if I have any regrets this time next year. Right now I'm delighted. You can see the before and after effects in this particular clip.